This case is truly alarming, resembling a narrative straight out of a true crime thriller. Here at Sidebar, we have been closely following every shocking twist as it unfolds. However, for Aaron Goodwin, the star of Ghost Adventures, this situation transcends fiction. It is a real-life nightmare. His estranged wife, Victoria Goodwin, made a court appearance on March 24th, handcuffed and wearing jail scrubs, facing serious criminal charges. She is accused of solicitation to commit murder and conspiracy to commit murder, allegedly plotting to hire a hitman to kill Aaron. This hearing marks another chapter in a complicated saga, which allegedly includes secret communications from prison and a murder-for-hire scheme amounting to over $11,000. Among the disturbing details of this case is a marriage that was reportedly disintegrating in the most tragic way imaginable. If you're just coming to grips with this shocking story, here's a brief overview. The nightmare began on March 6th, when 32-year-old Victoria Goodwin was arrested in Nevada for what investigators describe as a murder-for-hire scheme involving a co-conspirator, echoing the eerie narratives of a true crime documentary. This alleged co-conspirator, Grant Amato, is a name that resonates with true crime enthusiasts. He is currently serving a life sentence in Florida for the 2019 murders of his father, mother, and brother, a case we have extensively reported on. The case, which we have extensively covered, revolves around the murders of Amato's father, mother, and brother. Prosecutors allege that he committed these acts because they attempted to prevent him from spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on a webcam model he claimed to love, although he had never actually met her in person. Recently, his story garnered attention again when it was featured on Paramount+. According to an arrest report obtained by Law and Crime, investigators revealed that Amato had been using a smuggled cell phone from prison to communicate with a model. Text messages uncovered suggest an intricate plot to kill her husband, raising concerns about the situation of Victoria Goodwin in connection to these developments. During Tuesday's hearing, 48-year-old Aaron Goodwin, known as a star of Ghost Adventures, appeared mostly solemn. However, at one point, a smirk crossed his face as he glanced back at his attorney. The court proceedings began with a statement about case number 25, CR020105. "Good morning, Your Honor," said David Brown, representing Miss Goodwin, who was present in custody. He noted that the hearing was initially scheduled for a preliminary hearing, but now is called off at their request. She waived her right to a preliminary hearing today and invoked her right to be arraigned within 15 days. The defense is asking for a status check in 2 weeks. "Miss Goodwin, did you hear the representations made by your attorney?" the judge inquired. "Yes," she replied, agreeing to the 2-week continuance for possible negotiations. The next court date is set for April 8th at 8:30 a.m. Her bail remains set at $100,000, and according to court records reviewed by the Daily Mail, one condition of her bail is that she cannot contact her husband. Notably, Aaron had filed for divorce on March 12th, citing that their views, tastes, and dislikes have become incompatible. Incompatibility in their tastes and dislikes has reached a point where it is impossible for them to cohabit as husband and wife in marital harmony. Consequently, Aaron's filing indicates that there is no possibility of reconciliation between them. In this document, he has requested an equal division of their assets, while also maintaining his claim to a separate property that he owns. But that's not all. Aaron has recently filed an amended complaint on March 19th, which now includes a new lawsuit. This filing, obtained by USA Today, reveals that he is suing his wife for assault, asserting that her actions made him fear for his safety. Additionally, he claims false imprisonment, alleging that she attempted to control his movements. The filing details accusations of negligence against Victoria for her reckless behavior during their marriage. It also claims intentional infliction of emotional distress, asserting that her actions were extreme or outrageous, which are essential elements of the claim. The document states that her conduct either intended to cause or demonstrated a reckless disregard for Aaron's emotional well-being, resulting in severe emotional distress. This distress was a direct outcome of her actions, fulfilling the causation requirement for the case. In the lawsuit, he is seeking over $100 in damages as a part of a swift divorce, arguing that Goodwin's alleged behaviors, including reportedly acting in concert with a convicted murderer, amount to a tort or wrongful act. For the first time since this ordeal began, Aaron Goodwin took to Instagram to express his gratitude to fans, stating, "Thank you everyone for all the love and support. It has truly helped a lot, and I appreciate you all." By examining the couple's Instagram photos, it was evident that they had been together since at least 2018. They got engaged in 2019 and eventually tied the knot at Disney's Haunted Mansion, appearing to be happy together. However, if the allegations are true, this happiness now seems shattered. The situation escalates, justifying the immediate termination of their marriage. You really have to feel for Aaron Goodwin in this situation. What started as a fairy tale romance has taken a dark turn, resulting in the relationship collapsing in a shocking and unforeseen manner. This is especially true if the allegations against Victoria are substantiated. Recently, the arrest report revealed a plethora of disturbing details regarding the alleged crime, including a potential romantic connection between Victoria and Grant Amato. We'll delve into those details shortly. But first, I'd like to welcome back to the program criminal defense attorney Anthony Osso, who specializes in domestic violence cases. It's always a pleasure to have you, Anthony. What are your thoughts on this troubling situation? This isn't the first time we've encountered an alleged murder-for-hire plot, especially in Texas, where such cases are surprisingly frequent. However, this particular case is notable for its many intricate components, making it quite shocking. Solicitation for murder is already a rare charge compared to standard murder cases. When you consider the added layer of a highly recognized reality TV star being involved, it creates a uniquely bizarre situation. Such complexities add a different dimension to the case that certainly catches the public's attention. In cases involving solicitation or conspiracy to commit murder, prosecutors may find them relatively easier to prove compared to straightforward murder cases. What I mean by this is that when dealing with murder, forensic evidence, witnesses, and digital data play crucial roles. However, these elements may not always be present, leading to more circumstantial evidence regarding whether someone has killed another person. On the other hand, in solicitation or conspiracy cases, the arrest of the defendant is often supported by a clearer paper and communication trail. Charges are typically filed only when there is a strong and clear-cut case of a planned crime. Absolutely, Jesse. I believe the infrequency of these cases being filed is due to their complexity. Proving such cases can be quite challenging, and as a prosecuting agency, it's crucial to have sufficient evidence documented in the form of a paper trail. This ensures that we are confident in the charges we bring forward. It's also essential to differentiate between solicitation and conspiracy. The latter requires simply an agreement to commit a crime, which can involve various forms of assistance. In contrast, solicitation entails an ongoing effort, including requests for payment or encouragement to commit an offense. That's how I understand the distinctions between these two offenses. By the way, I checked the laws in Nevada. I'm not sure if you've looked into it as well, but please correct me if I'm mistaken. In various states, including Texas, the legal ramifications for murder are severe, often resulting in life imprisonment. However, if a person is only charged with solicitation or conspiracy and has taken steps to further those crimes as opposed to actually committing murder, the penalties differ significantly. Typically, this could mean a sentence ranging from 2 to 15 years for conspiracy and 2 to 10 years for solicitation. This distinction can be surprising to some, considering that while both involve serious criminal intent. Let's clarify what actually transpired in this case. To be clear, she is presumed innocent until proven guilty. I want to discuss her potential arguments, but first I'd like to ask you why someone might choose to waive a preliminary hearing. Are there any advantages to this decision? Often, during a preliminary hearing, individuals are simply made aware of their rights, and a plea of either guilty or not guilty is entered. If bond matters haven't been settled, this would be the appropriate time to address them and enter a plea. However, many times, there's really no necessity to go through all of that. In such cases, a defense attorney often decides to waive the preliminary hearing. I've implemented this approach in my own practice, as it tends to save time for everyone involved. It can be a bit challenging to hear everything clearly during those hearings. However, based on reports from Courthouse News, the attorney representing Goodwin, David Brown, mentioned that his client might be open to negotiating a plea deal. The specifics of such an arrangement can vary significantly, but plea deals are quite common. In fact, most cases are resolved through some form of plea negotiation. At this stage, Brown is likely to want to collect all pertinent evidence from the state or the prosecuting agency. He would begin by collecting evidence from the state or the prosecuting agency, allowing Victoria to evaluate and review it thoroughly. Subsequently, he would return to the drawing board to engage in discussions with the prosecutors regarding what they believe constitutes an appropriate punishment. He would then present counter-arguments, aiming to negotiate a settlement that is mutually agreeable and feels fair to both parties involved. One of the most intriguing and shocking aspects of this case, if the allegations hold true, is that she aligned herself with a convicted murderer currently in prison. This raises numerous questions about her motivations for approaching such a person. Additionally, the involvement of a smuggled phone introduces the question of whether this is a common occurrence in similar situations. Given that the allegations are true, one must consider that individuals who are incarcerated can orchestrate criminal activities from behind bars. It's unrealistic to believe that maximum security measures can entirely prevent such incidents. Reports of contraband infiltrating both jails and prisons are frequent, indicating that these situations are not uncommon at all. Now, shifting the focus slightly, we will revisit the criminal case later, but let's delve into the civil matters at hand. We know that Aaron has filed for divorce, and I'm curious about whether Victoria's no-contact order with Aaron might have any implications on her ability to engage in the divorce proceedings. Her ability to participate in the divorce proceedings may be affected. She hasn't made bail, which raises concerns about her capacity to challenge or contest the divorce. Additionally, Aaron has filed a civil lawsuit against her for assault and false imprisonment, complicating matters further. In my experience, when there's an ongoing criminal case alongside a civil or family lawsuit, it typically results in delays for both proceedings. This is largely due to Fifth Amendment issues that arise. I wouldn't recommend that a client attend depositions or provide statements during necessary hearings related to civil or family lawsuits. In those hearings, I often advise clients to assert their right to remain silent. Frequently, I notice that lawsuits get delayed while a criminal case is ongoing. Regarding the lawsuit, what are your thoughts on the claims of intentional infliction of emotional distress, false imprisonment, and negligence? From my perspective, these claims do seem reasonable. I wonder about Victoria's assets and how they might impact both the family law case and the criminal proceeding. What she did certainly violates tort law in Nevada, which supports the validity of the claims that have been filed. It makes sense how they filed the claim. I want to go through the arrest report with you to break it down and analyze what the police stated occurred. Initially, the investigating officers reported they learned about the alleged murder-for-hire scheme after being alerted by a detective at the Florida Department of Corrections. This tip involved Grant Amato and another suspect in Nevada, who was identified as Victoria Goodwin. But what led the police to that conclusion? We previously noted that a cell phone was seized from Grant Amato. When investigators examined the cell phone seized from Grant Amato on October 3rd, what they discovered was shocking. According to the probable cause affidavit, an analyst highlighted a conversation between Amato and a woman known as Victoria Candy. In their exchanges, Amato and Mims, Candy openly expressed their love for each other and discussed the complications arising from her husband, who was resistant to a divorce. At one point, Mr. Sin, Candy stated, "I'm so anxious, LOL, I just can't believe it's happening," reflecting her disbelief at the situation. She also questioned her moral standing, asking, "Am I a bad person because I chose to end his existence?" This conversation raises significant concerns and prompts deeper inquiry into the dynamics at play, leading to reflections on the choices and emotions that led up to this moment. I wonder what your thoughts are on those messages. It's really challenging to figure out how to respond. You know I didn't compose them. They were actually written by someone else. Still, I find myself pondering the common defense we often encounter in these situations, which is, I didn't mean it. The argument typically goes that there was no genuine intention to harm my husband and that I was simply venting my frustrations. With that in mind, what do you take away from this? Even without having seen the case in detail, I'd like to explore how this evidence came to light and see if any legal arguments can be made to challenge its admissibility. Just by analyzing what is available, are you suggesting a chain of custody argument, perhaps related to issues with the warrant? It seems challenging to assert her standing to object to the text messages retrieved from his phone. Moreover, examining the evidence closely makes it tough to argue that my previous statements were mere fantasies. At the same time, I have to tackle the other incriminating pieces of evidence in this case. It's often easy to break a single twig, but breaking a bundle of twigs is far more difficult. Did you come up with that? It's a clever analogy. I definitely see the value in that perspective. Can I reference it in the future? It really was insightful. Now let's consider the implications of the evidence regarding Victoria and Candy FHE. Is there a potential defense argument here? How can we determine what she meant or who authored the messages? To address that, I'd like to examine the subscriber information. Specifically, we should find out the phone number these messages originated from and who is registered to that number. Additionally, we can delve deeper by checking the phone's geolocation. Where was she at the time these messages were sent? If we can verify that she was in proximity to the phone, it will be challenging to create a separation between her and the individual sending the messages. Investigators have a variety of tools available in their arsenal to piece together the case against her. As the investigation progresses, it becomes evident just how intricate the alleged murder-for-hire plot truly is. Legal documents reveal that Mrs. Candy communicated with inmate Amato, informing him that her husband was staying at the Best Western Plus with a friend who smokes. She even sent inmate Amato a photograph of the two together, along with an image of a black Dodge minivan driven by her husband at that time. During this period, inmate Amato had been in contact with an unidentified individual who was responsible for handling the situation. Inmate Amato and Mrs. Candy have set aside $1,115 for this individual upon completion of the job. Investigators discovered messages indicating that the two were discussing payment methods, including PayPal and Zelle Cash app. Notably, Amato allegedly requested a $25 upfront payment via PayPal to an account associated with Anthony. These specific details raise concerns for the defense, suggesting that the precise nature of their discussions could be detrimental to their case. This context makes it clear why the defense attorney is contemplating plea negotiations, as the opening statement virtually writes itself. It's shocking to think that just days before the plan was executed, Victoria was lying in bed negotiating the price on Aaron's life. The very idea that they've settled on an amount they believe his life is worth is disturbing and could serve as incredibly damaging evidence in a trial. This level of specificity contradicts any claims they might make about it being mere fantasy or just playing around, which is certainly not a good position to be in. If we accept this as true, it poses serious questions about the nature of their love, especially when we recall our earlier discussion about alleged murder-for-hire plots, some of which have led to convictions. Love often plays a significant role in these dark cases. If we consider the idea that she harbored some affection for Gran Torino or had a relationship with him, and given that she saw him in the documentary, it may sound strange, but this isn't entirely outside the realm of what we observe in similar cases. In fact, it seems somewhat consistent. However, Jesse, I must clarify that while this situation is uncommon, it does occur. Working in criminal law and being immersed in the court system reveals that there are indeed instances where inmates establish pen-pal relationships. Believe it or not, many inmates serving long sentences develop relationships, and some even get married while incarcerated. What I've often noticed in murder-for-hire cases is that a romantic triangle can frequently be a catalyst for such actions, leading to the decision to eliminate one's partner. But let's shift focus. Why do you think the identity of this alleged hitman is being kept under wraps? Could it be that the police are unsure of who he is and haven't located him yet? I find this a bit perplexing. Records are sometimes sealed specifically to protect the integrity of an ongoing investigation. If the suspect hasn't been arrested, they likely want to avoid alerting him to the fact that he's under suspicion. According to the filing, an analyst tagged a conversation involving inmate Amato and an unidentified individual, whose name has been redacted. Inmate Amato instructs this person to block the main number he has been using to text. He further informs the individual that he plans to distract Mrs. Candy's husband with a phone call, mentioning that the husband is currently asleep in the hotel room. It's important to note that inmate Amato's communications suggest he is a suspect in the ongoing investigation, a fact that authorities likely haven't disclosed publicly for various reasons. Brother, I need an update. Was everything completed as planned? The name Victoria Candy is similar to her maiden name, Cadmus, as per a registry reviewed by the Las Vegas Metro PD. Each update seems to worsen the situation. While we should remember innocent until proven guilty, the unfolding of this alleged plot is concerning. Not every case goes to trial, and a defense attorney's preparation extends beyond court presentation. A significant portion of the necessary work occurs before a trial, and in this case, given the recent updates Jesse has provided, I believe this will likely be the path forward. While many people may want to see the case unfold in court, it appears that the defense isn't strong based on the information I've received. The police have yet to identify the alleged hitman involved, and once that individual is arrested and charged, it raises an interesting question. Could they be offered a deal to testify against Goodwin? Currently, my understanding is that the model has not been charged in this matter, but I suspect negotiations for a deal could be in the works. You believe it is crucial to secure this person's testimony against Goodwin. However, whether the alleged hitman will be charged depends on the prosecution's assessment of his value as a witness. From your perspective, a deal might be more beneficial than pursuing further charges. After all, he is already facing 3 life sentences without the possibility of parole. At this stage, proceeding with charges against him could be seen as a waste of time and resources. While they could enhance his security measures in prison, charging him doesn't seem to serve any purpose. It raises the question of what the state can realistically achieve with this individual, especially if it doesn't benefit anyone in the long run. Additionally, pursuing this path won't benefit anyone and will only incur unnecessary costs. I would rather consider using a motto as a cooperative approach. If the evidence suggests that this alleged hitman is someone we should be targeting, then we must question why he hasn't been arrested yet. This individual, potentially willing to commit murder for hire,